Dude, why you like that? All
Hello,
right.
everyone, and welcome to another episode of Compelling Conversations Podcast. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by Talha. Talha, thanks so much for being here, man.
Thank you so much for having me, bro.
Dude, this one, we've been trying to do this for a long time, like very long time, and I'm very happy that we're doing it today because it reminds me of this thing, like, don't rush into things, take your time, like, the right things will happen at the right time. So this is a cool example of that. This is the right moment for this to happen, even though we've been planning it for months and months and months.
Yeah, for sure, definitely, dude. And I love how it just kind of happened as well. Like this day was kind of like unplanned as well, if you think about it. Because I mean, we had a lot of original dates, but like I think you asked to do it on, I believe Wednesday, and then that day I was just really busy, and then we're just like, okay, let's just do it today. And it's just so happened to happen. So,
Yeah,
um,
it's like an impromptu morning, you know?
impromptu, yeah, impromptu morning, yeah, perfect.
Yeah,
That's
another
enough.
thing it's reminding me of is like the way I met you. And it's kind of nostalgic to me, like the way I met you, because it was like a QCP like party right before spring break. That was like months ago. And it's like life felt very different, very just different things happening. And now we're here at the end of 2023. It's like, wow, it's other things happening.
And this year went by so fast, bro. It's
Yeah.
crazy how fast this year went by. Like,
Yeah.
a lot
Well,
happened, but it felt really fast. Like it was like, dude, like I remember the first day of 2023, I was like in a car. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do these. I was like just writing down my notes app, like these are the goals I'm gonna accomplish. I think I was like making a workout schedule or something. Like I was just like, okay, whatever. And then like it took like complete like all the goals that I had, um, were so small compared to actually what happened. Like so much happened since. I'm just like, I just can't believe it, It's crazy.
wow. All the goals you had were so small compared to what actually happened. That's so interesting to hear. Like, do you mind sharing that?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Like a lot's happening, so another part of the reason why it took so long for this to actually happen is because we were both busy, but I've also kind of been a bit flaky because I just been so much. There's so much going on right now. Like um, this semester has just been crazy busy because I was working like 40 hours like this is the first time I ever worked 40 hours, um, like 40-hour weeks. So I was working full time, and then I was also doing like full time school, and then with that, I'm like planning to get married, so I'm gonna get married at the end of this year, which is crazy. Didn't expect that at all. It was very abrupt, you know what I mean? But yeah, it's just been lots been happening. Basically the goals I had were just really small, like because I'm majoring in computer science, so anybody who is a CS major can kind of relate to this. The market's pretty bad right now. Like it's been bad for a bit, but it's like especially this time it's just terrible. Like this time, especially December, like January time. If you can land a job here, it's like a miracle, in my opinion. It's just awful. But I didn't expect to really land anything. I was just wanting to learn, develop, just get through school. Um, and then, you know, sometime in like July, August, I got an email. And this is from a company that had rejected me because I failed the interview. And then they had reached out to me again and they were like, hey, we have your resume on file. If you're interested, we can interview you for another position. And I was like, sure, whatever. I was like, that was kind of abrupt. And then I had the interview, and then within like a week, they're just like, "Yeah, we offer you the internship, whatever." So that was crazy. Didn't expect that. Um, a good beginning of the year, I was like unemployed, because the last job I worked, which we can talk about, is pretty fun. But I used to work at like a cell phone store, and then I worked there. I got fired, right? And then for like the first 4 or 5 months of this year, I was like unemployed. So I was just unemployed. I was just focusing on school, but I was just like I wanted to do a lot more, you know. And alhamdulillah, everything that I sort of envisioned went through, followed through with a lot of goals. A lot of goals I fell short on too, of course. So just hoping to make up for those as well next year, inshallah. But that's basically the gist of it.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot to unpack there. First of all,
Thank
man, like congratulations for like all those feats. That's epic.
thank you.
Um, One thing I wanted to begin with was you said busy. Me personally, I hate that word. I don't feel like Like
Or
people have, different lives and different things going on, but me, like, you'll never catch me saying I'm busy. Like
mm,
I'll make the time if I care, you know what I mean? Like I might have things going on, but I'll make the time. And that's not like a slight on you or anything. I'm just saying
no,
like
I
that
get
word
that. I
busy.
respect that. I respect that.
I'm not like, a fan of that word. But another thing I was gonna jump on that caught interesting about what you were saying was you got fired and then you were unemployed for a little bit. What were the emotions going on with you when that happened? Were you like, damn, I can't believe this happened?
Well, I mean, the thing is, right? I was gonna make you sound bad, right? But I was kind of just laughing because the way it happened was, uh, the way so I used to work at a cell phone store. I don't know if I'm gonna get. I probably shouldn't say. I'm probably gonna get in trouble. But anyway, I'll just say it. Hopefully, I don't get. But I was like, like when you first come to like America. I don't know. I'm not sure how long you've lived here, right? But when I first moved here about 4 years ago, um, I didn't have any like official like work permits, you know what I mean? So like the jobs I would do would be like under the table, like here's some cash, you know what I'm saying? Which you're not supposed to do, but I need some money, right? So I did it was one of those jobs where they would just pay like under the table, right? Some cash. Um, so I was doing that. I did that for about almost a year, right? And it was like part time, like I would work about 20, I think it was like 8 hours a week because it was like I would go to school Monday to Thursday, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday I would work, and Saturday, Sunday were 10-hour shifts, and then Sunday I think was 8 hours because like you get a shorter day, so it was about 38 hours, 20 hours a week, sorry, not 30 hours, and so I would do that, and then eventually what happened was like as the semester like started coming to a close, I would take a bit more off days because I was like struggling with school a lot. And so I'd ask them like, "Hey, I need to take this Friday off. I need to take this Saturday off, right?" And then it got to a point where I think the like my manager, he saw like the way I approached the job because I would go in and I would just like you would just have a store, right? And I would be the only person there. I'd open up the store. I'd open up check cash registers. I'd check inventory, right? And during those times, like dude, like some days you'd get like no, it would be dead. So I would just be at the store, just sitting there basically doing nothing, right? Waiting for customers to come in. Okay. So it was a chill job, but it was also really boring because I would just be at the store the whole time. I'd be like, bro, like I just want to stay in. So what I would do is I'd be like, you know what? I thought of a great idea. I brought my laptop with me, which was the same trash laptop that you saw there. I brought that with me and I was like, let me like do something productive. So then I would work on my resume, right? And I would like apply to jobs at at that job basically. And I would do like other stuff too. I would do like my schoolwork. Like if I have an assignment, I'll just do it then. Like because there's like nobody showing up. And if someone did show up, I'll just stop it for a sec and then like deal with them, right? Um, and so my theory is what happened because I was overall like I wasn't the best employee, but I wasn't that bad either. Like I still sold, I still tried my best to sell and stuff like that. But I think there's a camera right behind me and I think they may have seen me like applying for other jobs while I was still there. And so I feel like that might be why I got fired. Because it was really abrupt. He just kind of messaged me one day. He's like, "Hey, you can take tomorrow off." That's what he started off with. He's like, "Just take tomorrow off or whatever." And I was like, "No, it's okay. I can come in." And then he's just like, "No, just take the rest of the semester off or something like that." And then eventually he's just like, "Yeah, it's okay. I'm sorry. Don't come back." And I was like, "All right, cool." So that's kind of what happened.
Damn. So no bad blood though.
I don't think any bad blood, yeah, but I just thought it was funny. 'Cause
Yeah, no, that is a funny story. So when was your last day like working there? What month?
I think it was like November, November
Damn.
2022.
So it's been like over a year since.
Yeah, yeah. It's been a year since then.
Wow. Yeah, look at that, how time passes, eh?
Yeah, yeah,
Interesting. Yeah, no, I'm glad you shared that story, dude. That's funny. It's so like it's so human. That's just the word that's coming to my mind. So human. Like, oh yeah, that's these are just the things that happen in the lives of human beings. That's like
yeah.
one story. That's pretty interesting, man. Yeah. Of all like the things that like you've experienced in the past year, like one thing I always think about is when a person is going through something, they think it's a very like challenging mountain to climb. Then when they climb that
Mm.
mountain, they realize eventually, it wasn't that impressive. Like there's another bigger mountain to climb. And then you go on to that one and on to that one.
Mm.
Um, have you felt that way with everything that you've done in this past year? That there's another mountain to climb? As David Goggins would say, you got to be a hungry dog. Got to
Yeah,
keep going after it.
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, honestly, that can be said for a lot of things. There's always another mountain to climb. Yeah, like, um, definitely I feel that way too. Like next year, I just have like bigger goals. Um, want to save up a bit more. Want to get like a full-time offer. You know, there's just a lot. Yeah, you're definitely right about that. It kind of reminds you of another David Goggins quote as well. I think, I believe it was like trying to remember. It was just on the to my tongue, and I slipped me. What was it? Yeah, okay. So sometimes like when we are in like adverse situations, we forget like our past experiences. Like you'll go through something, right? And this happens to me as well. I'll like go through a challenging situation and I forget like, hey, I've probably been through worse. I've definitely been through worse, but like this situation is just consuming my life and this is all I can see. But if you think back to yourself and be like, okay, wait, I've gone through this, I've gone through this, like this is nothing, like it's easy. Another thing too, right? Like and this is a mentality that I'm also trying to develop. I've gotten better at it, but I want to develop it even to the next level. And it's um, to have that like faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Because when you're being tested to something, it's, there are some people who are like at the elite level, like when they're going through like the worst hardships that we can imagine, like what's happening in Palestine, right? Most people, like, if you see you see their strength, it's just like, subhanAllah. Like, there's a video of this, I don't know if you saw it, but it was like this person and his brother had just been killed and he was at like I believe it was like one of the tents because they bombed the hospital and he was just like, you look at him and he had the reaction as if like someone just graduated or something. Like he was just like smiling ear to ear. He was like, Alhamdulillah, my brother's a martyr, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant him the highest ranks. I'm just like, how, like, it's absurd to me, and you see these type of people and they're just going through like the biggest, like the greatest struggle, and that's how their reaction is. It's really inspiring. um and I want to get like, looking at those videos, looking at the strength of those people, like I want to get to that level. Because here we have like such first world problems, bro. Like you'll be stuck in traffic, like okay, you have to get somewhere like 25 minutes late because there's an accident or something, and you're like complaining like, oh, or like, like just like the smallest, like most trivial things, like, oh, I have to stay an extra 20 minutes at work because of this or something. And then meanwhile, there's like families being like, you know what I mean? You look at that really humble, it like really brings you down to earth. Like, dude, like, what you have is like nothing. Like, you really need to, um, you know, keep yourself in check. That's kind of like
Yeah.
what it reminds, you know what I mean? Um,
I love how you mentioned that because I think about the Palestinians too, and that's a faith to envy, like
yeah.
wow, that they have that level of resilience, that level of faith. One thing that this is making me think of is I had a conversation one time with one friend where I was like, I told him, dude, sometimes I feel kind of guilty in a way. Because like an example that you brought up, oh man, there's children dying, or there's something crazy going on in some other part of the world. And what I was saying to him was, I asked him, I'm like, do you think all tests are valid? Because yeah, like we might have first world problems, but we also have our own problems,
Mhm.
that kind of, I mean, they're not as bad as that, but they can have their terrible moments. So I asked him, like, are all tests valid? And he's like, yeah, man. I'm like, every test is valid. It's just,
Mhm.
how do you react in that situation? Like, what kind of faith do you hold on to? So that's something hopeful, I think, because I think sometimes people can hear that, like, um, who else doesn't get a chance to sleep in their bed or like eat or whatever, and it's
Mhm.
like, oh, these people, and it's like, yeah, that's terrible. But it's also like, if you're struggling, just also know that your test is not like an invalid test either. You can,
Mhm.
of
Yeah.
course, build thicker skin, but yeah, just know that like it's still a test.
Yeah. No, it's great that you brought that up. And, like, why I meant that was like not necessarily because I know some people, they might have their issues and there's like a calm response, especially like in Desi culture, this, right? Like you have an issue and then they'll just like, bro, like you have food, like be grateful, you know what I mean? Like what you stress, you know what I mean? And it's like, that wasn't like sort of like what I wanted to hit that, but I'm glad you said that because each person has like, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he's gonna test you with what you can handle, And that's
Mm.
another comfort as well. Like when you're going through something and it's a hard shit, just know that what you're going through is, you're not gonna be given a test that you can go through. You know what I mean? Like you can work hard and you can get through it. And each person has like a different level. Like there are some people, like there's this great quote by Mike Tyson. I don't know if you ever heard it, but he was like, sometimes like I'm paraphrasing. I don't know the exact words, but it's like God will give you everything that you ever wanted and see how you can handle it. That's also another test. You see people, they're extremely successful, they have everything they want, and then they're extremely miserable. You know, like they have like they don't have anything. All they have is all this wealth or riches, and you look at it from a glance, it's like, dude, this guy's wanted life. Like, how does he have a right to be sad? But we see like there's so many cases. Like Anthony Bourdain for is a good example, right? Like, I
Anthony
knew this.
Bourdain. Yeah.
Yeah, like it literally surprised me when I heard it. I was like, like why? Like I was like, this guy's the greatest job in the world. He gets to eat food, travel around, but we don't
Well,
know what's behind the scenes, right? We don't know what's behind
you
the
know,
scenes.
we really don't know what's behind the scenes.
Exactly.
I would even say we don't even really know what happened to him. I would say that. Yeah.
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 So it's crazy.
Yeah. No, but very good point, man. Very good point. You said Mike Tyson, and it reminded me of a quote from Mike Tyson. I'm paraphrasing as well, but he said something like he was talking about discipline, and he's like,
Hmm.
I like ice cream. I'm not telling myself to give up ice cream for the rest of my life. I'm just telling myself to give it up for 5 months. If he's like training for a fight or something.
Hmm.
And when he said that, it put a lot of things into perspective for me. Discipline isn't necessarily about having a rigid lifestyle forever. It's about having systems in place for as long as you need them to be in place. Because life is always changing.
Hmm. Definitely. Yeah,
What do you
you
make of
gotta.
that?
No, that's facts. The discipline would there's like in my opinion like the best way to sort of summarize discipline is like human beings were a creature of habit, right? And so if to really be disciplined is you have to do something until it becomes a habit, right? So like for example, I'm sure every morning, every night you brush your teeth, right? I'm sure like for a lot of people, like I'd say 85, 90% of people, it's pretty easy for them for the most part, right? I don't think anybody ever like struggles with you never see people like complain like, damn, like, dude, I haven't brushed my teeth in so long. I really gotta get to it. You know what I mean? It's like built into it. Why? Because when they're younger, right, their parents are like, listen, you gotta brush your teeth, this is how you do it. It takes 2 minutes, whatever. It's never like it's not like a strain, right? And so the goal with discipline is obviously brushing your teeth isn't that difficult of a task, right? But the goal with discipline is to find a task that you don't necessarily like to do, but you keep doing it over and over again till the point where you don't even think about it. You just do it, right? Like there's another quote from Mike Tyson. He's like, I again I'm paraphrasing, but he has like all great quotes. But he's like, um, I do I do things that I hate as if I love to do them, right? So he would wake up like when he was training in his prime, right? He would wake up like 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning, and just run like 5 miles at pitch black, right? And he would do that like every day. And he was like, I do this, I despise it every morning, but I do it as if I love it. And then it gets to a point where it's just muscle memory, right? For us Muslims, especially, right? Like, I think a big struggle is Fajr, right? Waking up for Fajr or waking up for Tahajjud. That's really difficult. But I find that like once I'm in the zone, like once you do it enough times, you just have to come to yourself to like just do it enough times in the beginning, and then you'll get to a point where like you don't even think about it. It just happens automatically. Like you could stay up the night before till like 3 a.m., stay up really late, and it's still not a question. Like you'll still wake up, you'll still do it because it's just become ingrained into you, right? Just like as if you were brushing your teeth. So that's kind of like the basic gist of discipline. The beginning sucks the worst. Like it's the hardest at the beginning, right? It could be for like a gym routine, studying, you know, anything really. But you just have to kind of tell yourself that I love to do this, even though you don't. And then within like a certain period of time, you'll just get through it. Like, and then it'll just become muscle memory. Like you don't even think about it. And that's like true discipline. It doesn't matter what's going on. You're still going to do this task.
Yeah. Another thing that this is reminding me of is something I heard from an Australian YouTuber, Struthless, and he had said that it comes to a point where the pain of not doing it is worse than the pain of doing it.
Exactly.
And I was
Yep.
just looking at the example of brushing teeth, and I remember when I was younger, it's like I just didn't want to do it. It's just like it's
Mm,
annoying. Like it's like why? But it came to a point where I realized, dude, like um, I want a clean mouth. Like when I wake up, I want a
mm,
clean taste in my mouth. And so the annoyance got to me at some point. And because I didn't like, what would happen, because I didn't like what was going on in my mouth for not brushing my teeth, it kind of told me to make it a habit. Like I brush my teeth from then on, you know.
Mm.
So if you just, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and look, it's a good thing too, right? Because then imagine you just kept like putting that off, you might have issues, you know,
yeah.
teeth might fall off.
And
It's like, well,
speaking of, right, like
mhm,
another thing, like to give people hope out there who are listening, even if like you do put it off and you do have, you know, problems or whatever, you can still change things.
mhm,
It's never like too
definitely,
late. You know what I mean?
definitely, yeah,
I think it was Escott Fitzgerald who said something like that. He's like, it's never too late to be what you could have been or what you could be.
definitely. No, there's so many cases of people turning their life around. There's a lot like it's really never too late, honestly. Like if you especially with like some the people I tend to look at are like I'm really into like combat sports, so I tend to like mention those types of people. But you'll see guys who are like in their late 20s, early 30s, right? And for a lot of people at this time, they might think, "Oh, my life's over," right? But then they'll just turn their life around. They'll come back from struggles. Maybe it might be with drugs, it might be with alcohol. It could be with anything. If you're just going through depression, like it's never too late. Just to just remember though, like even though it's never too late, you also never know when your time is gonna end, right? So, um, this is another thing. I'm not saying everyone does this, but sometimes you might feel justified, like, okay, I'm still young, it's never too late. I'll just, like maybe you might be in your 20s, or like you'll be really young, and you'll just think like, I can put this off, I'll do it later. I'll do it later, and then before you know it, later never comes, right? We've seen so many cases like of this happening. It's just crazy. So yeah, it's never too late. So don't think like if you want to make a change, you shouldn't. There's definitely always hope, but also just keep in mind that, you know, you only have like one life. You only have a finite amount of time, and you never know when it's gonna end. So you should always just try to be um proactive with it, like get to your
Excellent
goals if
point.
you can. Yeah.
Excellent point. Yeah, that mantra shouldn't be like an excuse to
Mhm,
put things off. It should just be a reminder to propel you into action. You're very right.
mhm.
You said you were into combat sports. I'm surprised. What got you into this?
Just like I started getting to it recently, like about like around 20. The thing that pushed me into it was this guy named Habib Nurmagomedov. I'm sure everybody knows him, but yeah, like he's like, dude, I'm like his biggest fan. I'm like the biggest fanboy of this guy because the what he was at a time like alhamdulillah now in 2023. If you look at like the state of Islam, Islam I feel like has strengthened so much in these last like 5-10 years, in my opinion. Like it's become so much stronger, and the reason I say that is because I moved here around like end of 2019, right? And then before that, for basically my entire life, I lived in Canada, and Canada is like a very like secular sort of place. And so when I was like growing up, uh, I had this like point where I was almost like embarrassed to be a Muslim at some point. You know what I mean? Because it was just always like I would go all of my classmates, you know, they would just like call my like, oh, religion is dumb, this and that. You'd see people like anytime there's a terror attack, whatever, the number one thing on the news was, oh, these are Islamist, Muslim fundamentalists, whatever, et cetera, et cetera. Like this is what the religion preaches. And so it came to a point where I kind of just like was I was Muslim, but it was mainly by name. I wouldn't pray. Um, I would fast, but just so that I wasn't just so that people wouldn't say anything. But it was a bad point in my iman, right? And so I remember like seeing this guy come up, Habib, right? And he was just so like proud, like he was so unapologetically Muslim, and it was just like one of the greatest. Like he really inspired me a lot. He inspired a lot of people as well, because during that time, especially like middle school, high school, it's cool to just kind of you know you know hang out with people who are just like into things that you shouldn't be into, right? Like vaping or talking about pointless things, right? And so seeing that and then seeing him like be so successful and just being a worldwide sort of phenomenon, and he never let go, he never changed. He was always just like alhamdulillah, like God gives me everything. And just seeing that like was just so impressive. Like I remember watching him versus Connor, and he was like people don't know this, but back then he was by a lot. People thought he was gonna lose because the history behind that was when Conor became champion at that division, he then left. He kind of like went to fight Floyd Mayweather, right? And so the division was stalled, and then they had to strip him. So he never lost the belt. He just got stripped because he wouldn't defend it. And so when Habib won, people are like, dude, this guy's like a fake. He's a fake champion. He beat like a nobody, basically. Um, he's gonna get destroyed by Conor. Like that's what the narrative was for a lot of people. He's gonna get destroyed, right? And I was like, nah, he's gonna wipe the floor. And I was like, a lot of people in my school were just like, you're out of it, you're wrong, right? And then the fight happens, he gets destroyed. I was like watching it. I remember I was watching it with my dad, and we were like celebrating, like it was like one of the best moments. And even before that, one of the best moments too. I don't know if you saw that clip, but he's like at the post fight uh like weigh-ins, and he's like looking at the crowd. The whole crowd is all like a bunch of drunkards and stuff. And he's like, Alhamdulillah, I'm gonna destroy your guy. Alhamdulillah. And he's saying it, and he's like taunting them. He's like, I know you guys don't like me saying this, but I'm just gonna say it. Alhamdulillah. And I was like, that's
I'm
such
gonna
a
smash your guy.
G move. That's such a G move. Like, what a
Yeah.
gangster move that was, bro. But yeah, and
No,
then
no, no.
since that, I just been really into it.
I'm glad you shared this, dude. I remember those times. I remember when that happened, and that was like a big deal. Um, I told my friend Renee one time, I was like, dude, like I told him I think it was when the Khabib Conor fight happened that Muslims became more proud to be Muslim. Like it was more
Definitely, yeah.
I could feel it, but it kind of became it was like a tide, a tide
Mhm,
that swept over the culture. Like now it was okay. Now you didn't have to be, like you said, embarrassed or like hide or like kind of put it to the side. It's like, yeah, yeah, this is just who I am. It's what I am.
mhm,
And it was like a collective thing. Like a lot of Muslims were like on that. And I feel like that happened with social media and just like in general. Like I run into so many different people that just know the lingo, the Muslim
mhm.
lingo. And it's something felt. But yeah, I definitely believe it was that fight, that event, that whole buildup, all of that, that contributed to that. It was like a spark that made it happen.
Yeah, he just after that he just became like worldwide, like. And then
Yeah.
also with what's that football player's name too? The trying to remember his name. Yeah, how can I not remember his name? But he's like even big. I think he's even more famous. He's like a really prominent Muslim player, but I can't remember his name. Oh, dude, like football isn't like soccer. I mean, do you know what I'm talking about?
Is it Mo Salah? Is
Yeah,
that the
him, Mo
guy?
Salah. Yeah, I don't know why his name's slipping, but him too. Like he's also a good figure. Like those type of um like prominent Muslim figures who aren't afraid to just kind of to show that, which is good. Mashallah, they promote the deen really well.
What do you think gives a person that ability to just be so apparent about their beliefs? My understanding is it's just having a strong belief. 'Cause if you have a strong
Mhm.
belief, you'll be apparent about it. But what
Yeah,
do you think?
definitely. Yeah, it is really that. It's really that simple. Like, you have to have a strong belief for it to be proud of it. The thing is, you have to get the hard part is to get to that strong belief, right? So, I think this is what I struggle with as well. Is sometimes you just kind of like, for example, okay, I'm Muslim. I'm a Muslim. What do I have to do? Okay, I have to pray 5 times a day. All right, I'm just gonna pray 5 times a day. Boom. I'll fast when it's time to fast. I'll give charity. I'm gonna follow all these sort of fundamentals of the religion, which is good. Mashallah, that's a very good mentality to have. The thing with that is though, you're not seeing if you don't look into the why behind it, if you don't look into the wisdom behind it, like, okay, what purpose does this serve? You might get to a point where you're just kind of mechanically following these steps. And can be really hard to maintain, I find. Because if you're just mechanically following these steps, you never take the time to go into the why. You never listen to lectures or read the translation of the Quran. You never like actually go and understand these miracles. You know, you might come to a point where it's like, okay, I've done this. Um, like, what I mean? It's like so. This might be a weird example, but like if I told you, hey, 2 plus 2 is 5, you could with full confidence be like, no, it's 4, and you'll say that with full confidence. Why? Because you understand the mathematics behind it, right? You understand this. No, 2 plus 2 is 4. I can prove it to you with a variety of examples, right? I can show it to you right to your face, right? To the point where like even after all that, if I'm like, no, 2 plus 2 is 5, you're dumb. You won't. It won't even bother you. You'll just be like, okay, this guy. I just hope he he finally understands that 2 plus 2 is 4. You know what I mean? And that's kind of like the point you have to get to with your religion, right? With Islam is when you're new, when you're starting off, there's going to be a lot of things that you don't understand the wisdom behind, right? That you don't understand, like why are these things forbidden? Why are these things, allowed? But then as you look into it and as you look around you, it's like so evident, right? Like big example. This is like a simple example. Alcohol, right? Alcohol is forbidden. Okay. Don't even touch it, right? Here it's like the people lose their minds. Some people lose their minds. Like, why is that? Why is that? This is what's wrong with having a good time or whatever. But then you look at all the downsides behind it. You look at all these recent studies, like even secular, even people who have zero religion, even they're telling you, hey, to be successful, give up alcohol, right? You look at the variety of like the variety of cases that happen with it. Like, have you heard of I believe it's fetal alcohol syndrome? Have you heard of that? So it's when a woman is pregnant and she might not realize she's pregnant at that time, but she's still drinking, and it has negative effects on the baby, on the child, right? And so they tried to do this study in predominantly Muslim countries, and they couldn't. They couldn't even do the study there because nobody had it because people don't drink there. But like here in Western countries in Europe, it's just like crazy. Like like it's absurd, and so they have to do these studies. Even the way you sleep, right? There's a sunnah way of sleeping, right? Something's very simple. It sounds so trivial, like, dude, why would I sleep like this? But then there's other studies that show, hey, this is actually if you sleep like this, you could cause issues, right? If you know what I mean? It's like all of these things at the time when it was revealed, right? Seem like are now being like proven to be true. And so when you look into these things, when you look into these miracles in the Quran, when you look at all the wisdom behind each of these actions, then it makes it very apparent. Then it's like kind of like that 2 plus 2 thing that I kind of talked about, right? Where like even if someone comes up to you and tells you no, 2 plus 2 is 5 or whatever, and like tries to convince you otherwise, you have such faith, you have such belief, such confidence because you've been through that experience that you can just tell them like, you know, you'll be calm about it too. You won't even be mad, right? Like if someone actually came up to you and said something like that, you would just find it absurd. You wouldn't even get mad at them. You just be like, okay, best of luck to you, bro.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for sharing that, man. It was a beautiful, beautiful little thing that you said there. Um, I love talking to you, but we're coming to a close.
yeah,
I could see it continuing on for a while, like this has been awesome. And I feel like every conversation I've had with you since that party, that pre-spring break party has been awesome. Do you have
definitely.
any
My
closing
pleasure.
thoughts?
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Do you have any closing thoughts? Anything you felt like you wanted to say but you didn't get a chance to, or something on your mind that you wanted to express?
No, man, I'm grateful you let me come on. I'm appreciative of it. We should definitely do this again sometime, man. I love talking to you. It's
Yeah,
good to
yeah,
talk about, we like talk about for hours really. It's like anything,
yeah.
but yeah, just I hope everyone is doing well. Free Palestine, inshallah. Eventually,
Yeah.
um, we will be victorious, inshallah. Just have patience, have sabr, do your best. You know, for those like spreading awareness for spreading those videos, like thank you. It's good. Keep it up. Um, and just make a lot of dua for our brothers and sisters in Palestine. I hope they are given a lot of patience, and I hope all of those who have lost their lives are granted the highest ranks of Jannah, inshallah. And yeah, just during these like tough times, just know, like, as we talked about earlier, you know, you can get through this. All right. It's just a matter of time. Just keep persevering, you know, and every person has their own situation. You might be stuck here. You might be worried about the future, but just try your best to focus on now, Don't this especially goes out to people at university, like around our age, you know, don't waste your time. If that's the biggest thing that I want to touch on. Just don't waste your time. That's one thing I want to say is, it's never too late to change your life, but you have this gift of time right now, right? If you're in your 20s, right, you're still really young. You have a lot of, especially if you're like even in your teen years, if you're in high school, you have like a lot of time. Don't waste this time. Think proactively. Um, join, join productive clubs. Do a sport. I mean, don't waste your time on social media looking at, filthy videos, looking at all these things. Like, be productive, stay healthy, eat healthy, and yeah, just don't waste your time. Like, actually develop a skill, and your future you'll see how much you'll be rewarded for.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, man. And talking to you this morning has been so inspiring. So I love this
You too.
conversation. Yeah.
I
Thanks
love
so much, man.
your thought about being busy. Sorry, I couldn't say, but I love that how you
Oh, thank
approach
you.
that. Like, yeah, yeah.
No,
I'm
thank
gonna
you.
definitely implement that into my own like mentality. Like, there's no
It's
like you can
funny.
always make the time.
It's funny you say that because now I'm going to say something else too. I actually
Yeah.
also don't believe that time is ever wasted. And like part of this way of thinking was when I was talking to my friend Jaffer, and he said to me, like, you got
Mhm.
to think about this, man. For time to be wasted, that means you had to absolutely learn nothing. You learned absolutely nothing. It didn't change you in any single way. And when he said it
Mhm.
to me, I was like, like that's actually there's something to think about there. But I see what you're saying. I see the essence of what you're saying. Like, don't waste your time. So I loved it as well. Thank you so
Well, the
much.
thing is, right? Like the way what you just described, I feel like that's happened to me a lot. Where like
Oh wow.
an hour or two has gone by and I haven't learned absolutely nothing. I've learned nothing
Oh
because I'll be like, if I'm on like social media, right? Like this is the thing that I hate the most, right? These freaking shorts. It's like
yeah.
TikTok shorts. I was like, I'm not gonna download TikTok. I'm not really addicted to it, right? And then they brought it to YouTube, and then now I'm like on YouTube and I'm just like looking at these, and it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
fight highlights. It's like all catered to me, you know? Like it'll be like fight highlights or like it'll be like some the latest tech or something like
Yeah.
that. And I'll just like
Yeah.
watch it like a zombie.
I
And then
feel you.
after
I
like
feel
I
you.
waste like an hour of my life, I'm like, okay, what did I get from that? Nothing. It was a waste of time,
Yeah.
you
No,
know?
no, good point, man. Good point. But yeah, this is ending again. So thank you so much for
Yeah,
being here, bro. I appreciate it. Yeah.
yeah.
Until next time, eh, inshallah.
Until next time. Take care,
You
bro.
take care, my friend.